The first sensation was gentleness, water without wet, current without pull. Leora stood at the edge of a river that moved like memory, its surface holding constellations as if the sky had lowered itself to rest. Every star in that mirror blinked in time with her pulse, teaching her a new cadence for being here. A boat waited with no oars and no ferryman. When she set one foot into the current, it felt as though the river set a steadying hand upon her shoulder. The water didn't ask who she had been. It asked a smaller, truer thing. What of you is willing to cross? On a black stone lay a white feather, almost not there, the measured weight of an honest breath. When Leora lifted it, the river brightened, and a voice with no mouth, only meaning, whispered through her bones. What is yours returns you to yourself. What is not asks to be traded. The boat slid from shore when she consented. The current gathered her gently, and the surface unrolled her life like a ribbon. Rooms where her jaw was set, but her hands were kind. A mistake hidden under a busy week. A kindness never mentioned, because speaking it would have made it smaller. The living river kept inventory without accusation. Midstream, the first test arrived. Choose one ache to carry forward. The feather cooled in her palm, patient as a question that will not be improved by haste. She reached for the wound she had most tried to numb, her father's last breath in a summer room that smelled of metal and sunlight. She held it the way you hold a vow, steady, without spectacle. The banks leaned inward like listening faces. Silver fog rose and parted to show a threshold that was more absence than arch, as if trust had learned to wear architecture. Leora stepped from the boat and felt the river re-give her weight. Not burden, belonging. Behind her, the current went on reflecting stars and seasons, as if nothing extraordinary had occurred. Ahead, a light like dawn inside stone waited. The feather in her hand warmed once, then settled into the same rhythm as her breath, a quiet metronome for everything to come. She crossed under the white gold absence and into the hall whose floor drank light like patient night. Mirrors lined the curved walls. None reflected her directly. They held flashes of other lives, faces she'd touched for a minute or a year. The look in a stranger's eyes when she'd told a small truth at the right time. The mirrors did not accuse. They recorded. A scale hung at the chamber's heart, suspended by threads of light. One pan held a feather so pale it seemed to float above its own place. The other waited. A robed figure stepped from the soft dark between mirrors, neither stern nor soft, only exact. This is remembrance, they said. Judgment is a story told to make courage expensive. Here there is only what is true. Leora set her hand to her chest without touching skin. Something within answered, round and warm, like a small sun practicing quietly behind her ribs. When she drew it out, it came as a sphere of light, woven with darker threads that were not stains, but shadows belonging to the weave. She placed it upon the waiting pan. The scale trembled. At first, it dipped hard. In the mirrors, she watched herself walk past someone who needed help because the room had trained her to keep moving. She watched herself let a lie stabilize a meeting. She watched herself be polite where honest would have been kind. Then other scenes wove in, small comforts offered unasked, truths spoken when there was nothing to gain, restraint that made room for another to speak. The beam found level. Wholeness isn't the absence of shadow, the figure said. It's the refusal to pretend shadow isn't in the picture. They lifted the feather and set it in Leora's palm. Carry this. Truth, properly held, is not a blade. The mirrors shifted again, not into images, but into words written in air. Be chosen by being small. Keep the room smooth even if you wrinkle yourself. Don't name the problem if naming it makes you the problem. Contracts signed without ink, consented to for a little safety. The feather cooled, and Leora felt the small toggle in her throat, the reflex that rounded her voice to soothe the room. She held it with attention, not force. The letters dissolved. I unconsent, she said, not from tenderness, but from pretending. I will be gentle without erasing edges. The chamber brightened a degree. A window that wanted washing appeared in her mind, a truth about where ceremony belonged. She could just wash the glass. Edges are where truth can rest without sliding, the figure said. The scales stilled, the mirrors softened. A corridor of pale stone opened, its light the gentle color of a morning that keeps its promises. Leora bowed, not low, only enough to honor a room that had taught her to weigh without cruelty. Beyond, the air cooled into a breath held by the world. The corridor funneled her toward a threshold where asking was the only door. She felt the feather sink with her pulse. It made a quiet vow with her bones, to weigh everything fairly, starting with herself. She stepped into a light that knew how to wait. The next room was not a room. It was the outline of a gate that had learned to look like courtesy. And beyond it, something watched without blinking. The gate rose from the floor like ribs of night, braided with rules. No hinges, no lock, only attention. Beside it stood a creature composed of eyes, thousands, each reflecting a version of her face she had used to survive. Agreeable, untroubling, almost invisible. Credentials, the creature said without a mouth. Proceedings require signatures. A parchment unrolled between them. It didn't ask for her soul. It asked for something more reasonable, permission to keep moving if she agreed to keep small. Language like warm velvet, continuity, courtesy, safety. The offer wore the perfume of prudence. Her hand twitched toward the stylus out of learned reflex. She remembered the hall. Only what you deny can be used against you. She looked deliberately at the edges rather than the contract. Where she placed attention, the creature thinned. Where she withheld it, the gate forgot it was necessary. Delay is a kind of truth, she said softly. It shows what is patient, what is hungry. The hive of eyes shifted tactics, showing scenes like tiny theaters. Times she had said yes to avoid being disliked. Times she had minimized herself to fit the room. Own your limits, it purred. The gate will be merciful. The feather cooled. She found the toggle in her throat and held it. They happened, she said. They are not orders. Name, the creature demanded. Your true one. Without it, you are only a visitor. She let the syllables gather like a change in air. She didn't speak it. It spoke her. A pressure change rolled through the space. Several hundred eyes blinked out like snuffed candles. Where they vanished, she saw dawn-colored plain. Unauthorized articulation, the creature stammered, smaller. True names require permits. She smiled, human, not cruel. Humor loosened the room like warm water in a stiff joint. The gate began to weep dew. Rules forgot they were steel. This is the law, the eyes chanted in a last attempt. Only the unbroken pass. Leora lifted the feather and laid it over her heart. I am not unbroken, she said. I am made of seams that learn to sing. A fine, honest laughter moved through the chamber like a breeze. The parchment crisped and fell to ash without heat. The gate melted from the inside, making way like frost under noon. The creature collapsed inward, revealing not malice, but scaffolding. It slipped away through a crack that had remembered how to be kind. Leora walked through. She did not look back. On the other side, the light breathed like a library that likes you. The lesson settled in her. Attention is geometry. What you feed with focus thickens. She would choose what to thicken. She set the feather at her pulse and felt it align. The air tasted like questions unafraid of their answers. Ahead, a garden waited that remembered a world before fear's first consent. It had been expecting her wait. The garden's light didn't fall from a sun. It rose from within everything. Leaves held bowls of radiance instead of rain. A stream crossed the path, water so clear it seemed to vanish, and yet it warmed her fingers like recognition when she touched it. A keeper stood near, robe the color of deep moss, eyes golden with an endless welcome. You've kept what was yours from being eaten, said the keeper. In their hands lay something that looked like a shard of light pretending to be still, the first key. Inside it, small constellations drifted as if a night sky had agreed to be held. It is not given, they said. It is claimed. How? Leora asked, though she already suspected, not by argument, but by consent. The keeper stepped aside to reveal a ring of darkness at the garden's center. No menace, no drama, just the exact shape of unknowing. You step in, they said. Some walk longer without it. They often come back later, slower, more certain of their hesitation. She stood at the rim and let every frightened part her speak at once. Then she breathed like the river had taught her. In, honesty, out, permission. She stepped. Falling didn't happen. Unthreading did. Edges softened, self widened, possibilities paraded, lives where she had chosen comfort over becoming. Each offered an end to ache. Each asked for her consent. The hardest vision showed her leaving her father's bedside before the end. A life with less pain followed. She recognized the cost, less love's honest weight. That pain is mine, she said. I keep it. The vision folded like paper. Warmth rose around her, not reward, alignment. She found herself back in the garden, the key now humming behind her sternum. Courage without map, said the keeper. It opens only what fears your courage, and some things that honor it. A new arch revealed itself at the path's edge, carved from dark crystal that remembered stars. You carry it now. The fruit-laden trees bowed slightly as she passed, lanterns of rose gold and deep ocean blue glowing at their boughs. She plucked none. The taste of the place had already entered her, recognition without possession. She glanced at her hands. They looked entirely like her own, steady and ready. As she neared the arch, the air threaded with a silver melody she recognized without having heard. A lullaby for broken stars brave enough to sing themselves mended. Beyond the arch, a city waited that had learned its beauty too well. She would need to tell it the truth gently. The city rose from haze like a hymn, all domes and terraces, fountains pouring crystal into bowls that never spilled. People approached in garments like water made visible, smiles flawless as the day after rain. "You've come so far," said a tall woman, her touch cool. "Here you may rest. The journey is over." Relief flowed through Leora like sugar in tea. The plazas were shaded by flowering trees. Low tables were set as if a feast awaited without hunger. Music made no mistakes. The scent of jasmine threaded the air, nearly sweet enough to sting. Perfection gathered like a net. Truth hummed from the key in her chest, quiet but insistent. The music's spacing allowed no breath between notes. The flowers swayed off-tempo from the wind. The citizens' eyes were luminous. Yes, but still, paintings rather than faces. "What is this place called?" Leora asked. "Your reward," the woman said smoothly. "You've earned it." The haze thickened at the end of every street, hiding what lay beyond the next plaza. "And if I keep walking?" Leora asked. "There is nowhere else to go," the woman replied, the smile thinning by a degree. Leora let the silence sharpen, the way a lens clarifies by not trying. "This is beautiful," she said, "but beauty without breath is taxidermy." The city stuttered. A fountain's arc held too long before falling. The music missed a seam and then resumed as if nothing had happened. "You'll regret leaving," said the woman, and the kindness in her voice turned one shade toward control. "Maybe," Leora answered, "but I'd rather regret too much life than too little truth." The key warmed. A previously absent archway appeared at the far end of the street, offering a way through that wasn't there until she named what was wrong. She stepped under it. The perfection dimmed, not to ugliness, but to honest light. Behind her, the city did not crumble. It kept singing its smooth song for those who still needed to learn they could live without it. Ahead, the air held the texture of paper that had waited 1,000 years for the right hand to write a name upon it. She didn't look back. Not out of defiance, but because the need to look unwound from her. The watchers of the gates don't hate the truthful. They simply have nothing to sell them. Leora walked on, carrying the kind of quiet that doesn't require a stage. The path bent toward shelves that breathed. Somewhere, a librarian smiled with eyes made of night, ready to ask whether she could bear the truth of her name. Shelves rose like midnight cliffs, each lined with scrolls made of light that exhaled and inhaled like sleeping birds. A figure in indigo stepped from between aisles, their face veiled in water, their eyes polished and black, as if the night had been swallowed whole. "You've come to the Hall of Forgotten Names," they said. "Not the names you answered to in marketplaces, the one you spoke before you entered the body." "Can I read it?" Leora asked, though she knew the answer. "You can align with it," said the figure. "Approach without alignment and the letters will veil themselves. Not punishment, protection." They led her to a pedestal where a dim scroll lay as if resting from a long watch. "Speak a truth that belongs only to you." She breathed like the desert had taught her, hear, feel, be. "I would rather be broken in truth than perfect in a lie." The seals unknotted themselves. Symbols unlike any alphabet she'd learned rose from the scroll like steam. She didn't sound them, they sounded her. The hall turned its head to listen. Her body steadied under the resonance. Laughter she had softened remembered its full tone. The way her hands moved when making things came back like a muscle waking. Stillness returned, not dour, alive. The scroll closed gently. The librarian watched, unreadable and kind. "What do I do with it?" Leora asked. "Carry it," said the figure. "When the false call, it will answer for you. When gates ask for permits, it will show you which are doors, which are paper." The name hummed with the first key and found harmony with the second space. They recognized each other like rain recognizes river. A narrow arch opened behind the pedestal, leading toward a geometry that sounded like clocks in love. "Beyond this is the keeper of hours," the librarian said. "They will offer you your best moments without loss. Mind the bait." Leora inclined her head in thanks. The hall, satisfied, dimmed its breathing to a library's favorite quiet. Her name scented the air around her. Unmistakable, not performative. Anyone who came close would remember theirs too. She walked toward the faint bronzed light that time loves, ready to decline the gentlest trap. The corridor hummed like warm metal. At its end, wheels turned not to advance time, but to make it visible. Someone waited who could return any hour she asked for, at the cost of becoming a loop. The chamber was all moving architecture, nested wheels inscribed with glows of bronze and gold, the rhythm of unseen engines and a pulse almost, but not quite, a heartbeat. A figure emerged clad in copper thread and shadow, face engraved with clock hands, voice precise. "I am the keeper of hours. I offer what the living never had enough of, your best moments exactly as they were." Ripples formed on the floor, each holding an hour bright enough to ache. A field at 12, a sky without sorrow, sunlight on an easel, and paint that obeyed. Her father on the porch, warm hand over hers, the laugh that would be the last and didn't know it. She could not only watch, she could step in, live them endlessly, without decline. "What happens to the part of me that reaches?" she asked. Silence answered enough. The images shifted almost imperceptibly. The clouds repeated their shapes. The bristle paused at the same point. Her father's smile aligned exactly with the last one. Perfection revealed its cost. Repetition. "They are perfect," said the keeper, no malice in it. "They are dead," she replied, gentler than a refusal, truer than a consent. The first key hummed, as if approving her spine. The second key made room for a grief she didn't need to anesthetize. The keeper's garments rustled with a breeze that didn't exist here. "You think you won't long for them again?" "I will," she said. "Longing proves I lived them. If I have them without longing, they stop being mine." The ripples shattered into useful motes. The hall exhaled. "You may go," said the keeper. "Not all who refuse me find what they seek." "I'll take the risk," Leora said. "Not brave, exact." The wheels turned faster, opening a corridor lined with bronze light. At the far end, the sound that isn't sound, the eon of silence began. She walked, the metal underfoot reading her stride. The keeper watched without resentment. Their work is necessary for those who need a rest, sweet enough to restart wanting. Leora no longer needed to be protected from longing. She needed to use it. The corridor ended in a desert made of pause. The eon of silence was waiting without waiting, the way a good stillness does. Nothing would happen here. That was the point, and the gift. The desert held no wind, no heat, just the competence of stillness. A figure almost featureless stood before her, presence heavy without weight. I am the eon of silence. Without me, you will repeat what you already are. What do I do? Leora asked. Nothing. The word completed itself. She stood. First, standing was posture. Then it became permission. Edges eased. The part of her that narrates softened until the listening underneath took the job. The seed of the second key formed just below her sternum. Not an object, but a gap with muscles. A learned pause that can hold thunder without breaking. Noise will disguise itself as truth, the eon said. Remember this desert. Step back. Let the silence answer before you do. The ground didn't move, but intention did. A shore appeared, the sea of glass, unbroken, reflecting the sky so precisely she could not tell which was real. She stepped. The surface sang a note for each footfall until the notes became a chord belonging to her alone. Beneath the glass, reflections gathered, elder her, peaceful as a late afternoon, her as laughing girl, scholar with deep nights under the eyes, wanderer striding, a queen crowned with light. Choose the truest, said the desert she still carried. She chose the present self, eyes marked by loss, shoulders ready, mouth unsoftened. The others dissolved into her like vitamins. Twin moons hung over a shore ahead, one black, one white. Harmony, said the space between them. Leora braided her grandmother's lullaby with the syllables of her true name and sang. Dark pulsed at the low notes. Light flared at the high. Then they pulsed together, and the two moons merged into a sphere that became a small sun behind her ribs. Second key, the air whispered. Use it to open what stands in halves. A doorway appeared where none had been, leading toward trees that remembered wholeness. The garden bowed its branches as she passed. Somewhere ahead, 4 luminaries tuned themselves to greet her without flattery. She walked lighter, not because she carried less, but because what she carried had learned where to live. Silence had taught her to keep room for truth to fit without cracking the bowl. The sea of glass sang a final chord as she stepped onto a shore that smelled like new law, kindness with a spine. The grove gathered her like hands. A well of first light glowed at center, no water, radiance made liquid. Armazel arrived like winter clarity, a vow against distortion. Purity is not the absence of stain, he said. It is the refusal to lie about what you are. He asked her to return what she had borrowed from herself. My unsoftened tone, she said. A thin frost thread re-entered her voice. Cold, clean, not cruel. Oriel came as a clean wind in sapphire robes. Truth is hospitality, he said. It invites what is real to stay and shows pretense to the door without hatred. He widened an old memory until the lie could no longer fill the room. Tell it now, he asked. I let the lie stand to be loved, she said, cheeks warming. I would risk being unloved to be true. Oriel tied sight to speech with mercy. Davithai entered laughing, emerald as river moss. You've said many no's. What will you say yes to that costs you comfort? Yes to making, she said, even if I begin badly, publicly. Davithai's forearm clasp sparked safely. Life is a verb, not a museum, they grinned. The itch to make moved into her hands like joy electing to work. Elileth arrived like the sensation of being found, rose gold with a promise that knots can become bows. Filaments around her throat and wrists brightened, old agreements. Unconsent, Elileth said. Say no where you once said yes, and yes where you were told to wait. Leora gently refused self-shrinking and accepted the invitation she'd been told she wasn't ready for. Warmth spread that felt like forgiveness learned in the body. The four lights, crystal, sapphire, emerald, rose, began to pull apart, each trying to claim an office. Instinct wanted roles. Let truth speak, grace soften, life act, purity approve. Leora breathed desert breath. She didn't blend them. She let them interpenetrate until one chord rose, bell through drum, drum into choir, choir rounding chime, chime clarifying bell. Her spine lengthened, her hands uncurled. Effort lost its squint. Stable heart, Auriel said. Direction with mercy, Armazel added. Motion without panic, Davithai laughed. Rescue without erasure, Eleleth's eyes warmed. They calibrated her brow, clarity, tongue, edge with ease, hands, spark to begin, and the back of her heart, old grief rearranged into fuel. The well leaned toward a doorway silvered with dove-grey. Sophia entered. The grove bowed by widening. You've gathered keys, she said, sorrow sweet as rain after smoke. Now gather the pieces of me. Leora's hands shook once in recognition. I will, she answered. The four luminaries touched her shoulders in a blessing that promised courage instead of safety. The silver door opened upon broken stars already singing themselves mended. She stepped through, the garden walking with her. The four songs stayed braided. Beyond, the work would be less ceremony and more logistics. That was not a downgrade. It was the point. Beyond the door, the horizon bent into a great arc, the edge where some leave and not all return. Returners in plain radiance briefed her. Help where consent gathers. Most traps are baited with what you love most. The memory void lay ahead, not empty, full of uncommitted possibility. Leora touched the obsidian weight Davithai had given her. Warm, not heavy. Gravity, not burden. In the void, disused virtues drifted like tools without hands. Remembrance threaded them into use. She became a window where light could pass between pieces that had insisted on touching. A table where different hungers could be fed without hierarchy. A hinge where doors remembered how to be kind. Spectacle tried to assemble. She chose cooperation instead. The room improved. Crowns offered themselves. Witness, mercy, flame, answer. She lowered them into verbs. Reach, place, test, give back. Witness became showing up. Mercy became timing. Flame became boundary. Answer became, I don't know, said cleanly, which allowed better knowing to arrive. The Archons dislike logistics because logistics are love with a calendar. She scheduled kindness. Sophia's seams stitched through the work. Threads that had tried to be ropes relaxed into fabric. Her true name perfumed the air rather than demanded attention. People near her began to remember theirs without ceremony. Leora noticed something quietly magnificent. Rooms stopped needing her staged presence and started doing the work themselves. Success. She learned to descend with rites. Inhale nameless, exhale neighbor. The world adjusted to her weight because she carried it honestly. The feather at her pulse kept time. The first key held her backbone in its proper song. The second key kept room for contraries to sit down without trying to win. Purity kept the window. Truth placed words. Life moved chairs. Grace brewed tea. One morning, she washed an actual window. The day outside was the same day. and friendlier for being seen. A small stone warm from someone's pocket sat on the sill. A feather lay beside a spool of twine. A kettle hummed in a kitchen where law and kindness had agreed to try again. This was the Pleroma's favorite disguise: ordinary. If you feel called to go deeper into this journey, to walk every gate, dwell in the gardens, listen at the wells, explore the full novel and complete audiobook of Threads of Light, A Soul's Journey Through the Pleroma. Links are in the description. Carry the silence, carry the song.